Hello and welcome to another episode of Football Friday, where we'll be talking about the latest topics going on in the footballing world. Joining me today we have Tom.
Nice to be here, Reece.
Pleasure. Thank you very much for being here. Main topic, Leicester City sacking Ranieri. Let's start with that. What's your take on it?
It's a real shocker, really. Like, after the great achievement that he did last season, like the unbelievable. But I was more shocked because there was rumbles in the water that it was going to happen. The players were apparently he's lost the dressing room, but the timing I thought was a bit bizarre. Like, especially so late in the season. Like, other teams have already done it. Swansea did it. Hull have already done it. Crystal Palace. You'd think if they were going to do it, they would have done it a bit closer to January. But
And you compare it to Nigel Pearson when he was in charge. A very, very similar situation where they was needing to avoid relegation, and it came to a point in this time of year, at the end of February, where they had to make the decision whether or not to keep him or let him go. They stuck with him, and he kept him up. Now, on his credentials, no disrespect to Nigel Pearson himself, he's had a fantastic managerial career, but when you compare Ranieri winning the league title the season before, surely you'd have enough gratitude and respect to give him the rest of the season to at least change his fortunes.
you would hope
It's
so,
ridiculous,
but there's
I find it.
But there's no real honour in modern day football.
It's
I don't think
ridiculous,
there's
I
a lot
find
of snakes in the grass, and I feel that owners, they may have looked at the extremity of them being so high up. They've put money in. They've probably thought, well, maybe not improve on last season, but like maybe have like a more substantial.
Yeah.
They've brought in players from
Slimani,
Ahmed
Musa,
Musa, like they've brought
big names to
and
be fair in
Didi
their own
and
country. and what
Mendy,
they've done.
but really, when you're talking about a team that was kind of lucky, it's not.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't believe
No,
in
it's
luck
true.
myself, but it was sheer anomaly
Yeah.
that it actually
They were
happened.
never a top 16, which has been the biggest talking
Yeah.
point. They were always going to struggle this year,
Definitely.
regardless of who's in the team or not. Leicester City are not a top 16.
You're looking at a team really full of Championship to lower Premier League players with like obviously an
Yeah.
outstanding performer in Kante last season. Vardy up the levels, but it's like Vardy in his first season in the Premier League, he didn't really do much. Neither did
No.
Mahrez as well. So
Exactly.
you're really looking at a world-class player who brought the whole team to life, and the momentum they had from the previous season under Pearson, they just carried that on.
Absolutely.
They just had a very good man manager in Ranieri. He just kept the spirits high. You saw it in his press conferences the whole way through.
Definitely.
But players, when you give them such a pay rise,
yeah.
a lot of these players, their wildest dream was to win the Premier League.
The biggest
you
problem
would expect
though,
it.
that you've got is that it was revealed today as well that overall the decision to get rid of Ranieri was actually to do with the players as well.
Yeah.
They weren't with him all the way this season, which I find is very upsetting to think that
Definitely.
Ranieri's given most of them their limelight for their whole career.
Yeah.
He's done everything for them to make them world class. They'll always be remembered as a winning team. Now, why have they gone against the manager and kind of had a word with the board saying that I think we need a new manager? I find that absolutely
It's a
disgraceful.
bizarre one, but you never know. Like money is a funny thing, isn't it? Like all these players, they got cars after last season,
Yeah,
and they
it's
just maybe they thought like I don't know. Ranieri has kind of got a track history for doing well initially,
yeah,
and then he does drop off. But when that was like at teams like Chelsea and
but
like
he's always managed
Monaco, like
big
who,
teams. If you think about it, he's
Yeah,
managed
so-
Juventus and things.
and even like flipping, I think he was obviously at Monaco as well. They had big ambitions. They got rid of him, and the guy they've replaced, he's doing exceptionally well.
Yeah.
But I don't
But
know.
he's gone now.
He's gone. So it's just who are they going to replace him with?
Exactly, that's
There's not
what
really
I was
any.
going to say. Can you really think of anyone that can replace him at this time?
The only like top class manager who I've seen who's available is
But what do they
is
do?
Mancini.
Do
But
they go for a top class manager, or do they get someone that is experienced in battling relegation in the Premier League from previous years? Alan Pardew, that's one.
it's possible. I'm not a man.
It's
I'm
a
not-
hard
I'm not a
one
big
though, isn't it?
Pardew fan. So
Absolutely, it's ridiculous to call.
you would probably think that the most sensible thing is to get someone who knows the Premier League, who knows about relegations, to come in, maybe lift the spirits, maybe on a half season to the end of the season
Yeah.
contract, see how he does, and potentially if they want to, like, if the owners have ambition, maybe get a Mancini in the
Yeah.
summer. I'd say that's the most viable option, but it's a
tough one.
it's
Isn't
a
it?
shocker really.
So moving on, Wayne Rooney, of course, has been in the news lately for speculation from China wanting to bring him over. He has now confirmed publicly that he wants to stay at Manchester United. I find that's tremendous news as an Englishman as well. Commitment. Now, we were obviously talking before about modern day football.
Yeah.
I think Wayne Rooney is just one of very few that shows their loyalty with clubs these days. And I think he hasn't, succumbed to many other people that have obviously transferred straight over to China because of the money. He hasn't gone. It's just...
Well, English players don't really like moving abroad. It's quite
That's true.
It's quite rare. Only like David Beckham really has made a landmark doing that.
Yes.
But I suppose Rooney's on such an amazing figure of money at Manchester United. You would expect him to be quite loyal.
So.
And of course, Mourinho. I liked what Mourinho said. He's a club legend. He's not gonna cast him aside to the wolves. But you would say if Manchester United are to really develop as a team, I feel that potentially moving him on would be the best thing. But not obviously
see
not
him
that.
out to the end of the season.
Yeah,
see
exactly.
obviously the.
I think contracts are going to come in moving to
Yeah.
China. Like the dream really is for him to go back to Everton. That would be a nice little sing song.
Mhm.
But if he does want to make a bit of cash, like China's just throwing out money, you might as
Yeah,
well go
it's
like.
true.
And there's a lot of decent players going over there now, so it's not like he could have a little reunite with a couple of players that he might
It's
have
true.
played with, like Ramirez in Premier League.
So moving on, the FA Cup a week on. Now Sutton couldn't overcome Arsenal. Obviously, everybody wanted Sutton to win via Arsenal, and of course, majority Lincoln fans.
Yeah.
I know Sutton had a fantastic ride. It is all over now, but it has been dampened by Wayne Shaw being sacked.
Yes.
It's so unfortunate, really. If you think about it, the run they were on, the stuff they've done in the cup, it's every young kid's dream watching their team progress in such a competition. Now it's been overshadowed by, obviously, fixing. Basically, that's what it is.
It's a silly incident, really. Like it could have been avoided.
It could have easily been
He
avoided.
didn't. He came out to the media and he self-snitched really, and which is I suppose if you want to be
I
honest,
suppose
it's
when you're
good,
not
but
being in the limelight all your career and you are a non-league team and you are finally on the big screen in front of millions and millions,
sometimes that people
it does overcome it, doesn't it?
definitely, but it's just unfortunate because potentially other players have bet on it. So
it's true.
you could
but
see
not being,
you could see the whole
Yeah.
Sutton side.
But let's not
being
dwell
cleared
on the bad side of
Yeah.
Sutton. As I was saying, they've done fantastically well, and congratulations have to go out to the club itself.
out. It's good.
Saying that, Lincoln City have progressed, and they will be playing Arsenal.
Massive
fantastic
tie
stuff.
for them.
To beat Burnley at Turf Moor, which a lot of Premier League clubs have struggled
Chelsea
to do
couldn't
this year.
it, yeah.
Chelsea couldn't do it, 1-0 there. I mean, it's just hats off to them, really. They're the only non-league team left in the cup
And
competition.
they looked. It wasn't like it
Yeah.
was a fluke. They actually
Exactly. They
competed
looked
very well with
organised,
Burnley.
settled on the ball, and they took their chance when they needed to. And the best thing for them is, at their level of competition, they don't have goal line technology. So as soon as that ball went over the line, they knew it was over the line,
Yeah.
because the goal line technology would obviously not say otherwise. But staying in cup competition now, moving on from that, the League Cup on Sunday. Manchester United versus Southampton. What is your take on, obviously, the possibility of Southampton winning the League Cup itself rather than United?
Well, Southampton, they've got a decent side. They've invested in bringing Manolo Gabbiadini in from Napoli, who's he started looking like a very prolific goal scorer really to come in. He was a bit of a bit part player at Napoli. They've just brought in Martin Gutierrez, who was at Juventus. He's a solid. He's quite a versatile defender, can play all across the back line. So with their injury problems to Van Dijk, that could be.
One thing about them as well is that they have gone all competition without conceding a single goal, which is obviously
a big.
respect where
Probably
respect's
Van Dijk
due.
was a big part of that because he is like a very imposing centre back, and you do think potentially if Gutierrez does come in, I feel that they might stick with the same back line. I don't think they'll throw Gutierrez in, but I think Manchester United, the consistency that they've got at the moment, the way that Pogba is just playing their balls over the top for Zlatan
Manchester
to put
United
in.
at this moment in time with Ibrahimovic and Pogba all on fire, really, to be honest with you.
It's a bit sad that unfortunately that maybe Mkhitaryan will miss because he's
been
clicked
fantastic
into
this
gear.
season,
But
hasn't he?
when you've got players like Martial or Rashford to come off the
Yeah,
bench,
it's true.
it's not the end of the world
I mean,
for them, really.
if I was not a Portsmouth fan,
Yeah.
I might want Southampton to win.
Yeah.
But because I am, I really do hope Manchester United win.
I don't personally like Manchester United that much, but I felt a bit sorry for like Pogba at the start of the season for
Yeah,
all the
getting all
because
these-
he's a nice lad. You see how him and his
Yeah.
brother have interacted. He's got a great family unit,
Yeah.
and I like his and Zlatan's relationship when they've done little interviews. The interview with Thierry Henry was excellent when Pogba came in and they just had
True.
a bit of banter. And then there was that one with the Manchester United Foundation with that little lad, and he came in and he saw Pogba and said,
Mm.
"Oh, Zlatan, it was amazing that. So I think it would be good, especially as it would just potentially reignite Manchester United winning trophies again. And I feel that they're gonna. I feel that
They're still in all 4 competitions at the moment. And Mourinho does not like losing cup finals. He's someone that doesn't like to rest his players, even if it is for the EFL Cup.
Yeah.
You know, to him, it's very important.
We
to
saw
win
that
every
against
single-
Saint Etienne. On
Yeah, exactly. He
like
didn't
they
rest,
didn't
you
rest
know.
anyone. Unfortunately, Carrick and Mkhitaryan did get
Yeah.
injured, but he is a serial winner, like you said, and he wants to break that record. He could be the first Manchester United manager to win a trophy in his first season, which would be a big feat. Like Sir Alex didn't do that, so if he does that, that's excellent. 'Cause they could win the League Cup. I feel they'll win the League Cup.
Yeah.
I think they're
I
going
just
to win the
feel they'd be
Europa
too
League as
strong.
well.
I just personally feel they'd be too strong for Southampton.
Yeah.
And that is as a neutral as well as
I think
obviously
their
just a
attack
Portsmouth
against
fan.
Southampton's
I forget
defence.
about being my own team following.
Mhm.
I consider both teams.
Yeah.
Southampton done so well to get to the cup final, but when you take on a team in form such as Manchester United and the way they approach each game, I can't remember the last time they played where I thought this ain't Manchester United this season.
Yeah.
They've
I just hope it's a good game. I
dominated
hope that maybe Gabbiadini does score some goals, and it could be a nice little battle between
Yeah.
them two getting some goals.
Yeah.
It
Or
would-
it could be a nice 3-0 win for Manchester United.
It-
I'd be happy with that,
Yeah.
personally. But no,
I would like some entertainment, maybe a
Yeah.
bit like the Man City Monaco match.
Mm. So moving on, the Championship.
Yeah.
It's coming down to the wire, let's be honest. There's so many teams still in it for automatic and playoffs.
Yeah.
I personally feel the most surprising team has to be Huddersfield. Come on, out of them
Yeah,
all.
you didn't really expect them to be up there, but they've got like Jurgen Klopp's like former assistant as their
Yeah.
manager. They've got some
True.
exciting little talents. They've got the Australian
Yeah.
Moy.
Mm.
They've got all these German lads who've come in.
Naki Wells up front.
He was a good player as well, so they've
The thing is, though, that they've been well organised throughout the whole of the season. Any big task they've had to take on,
Yeah.
they've taken them on.
they take it on against the
You
big
know,
teams. They've
really
beaten
have.
us. They did well against Man City in the cup.
Yes,
So
0-0.
they beat
It
Reading
shows.
last week.
Yes, they did 1-0.
So they're definitely gonna fight against
Yeah.
Newcastle and Brighton.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is really a 3-horse race.
It's
at this
true though, isn't
moment
it?
now. Yeah,
Because most people would naturally think, oh, Newcastle, Brighton, they got it.
yeah, that's
I
what
personally
everyone was saying.
still
But
think Huddersfield,
Huddersfield
they're
and
catching up.
they are
Reading
catching up.
playoffs, fine. And I do feel that Norwich, although they are about 7 points, I can't be 100% correct in that, but they are about 7 points
Wednesday
off.
did lose last weekend, so
Yeah, it's true.
it's potentially there's a chance for them to catch up, and I'm just hoping that
Yeah.
we finish top Newcastle. But
Yeah, it's true though.
we've
but-
got difficult fixtures now because we've got Bristol City, which we would hope to win. We beat them early in the season, but then we have the 3 big ones against Reading, Brighton, and I think it is Huddersfield, then Reading. That's going to be some crunch time,
Well,
especially with
obviously-
Dwight Gale out injured. So
I was about to say that. Dwight Gale being
Yeah.
injured is a huge miss for Newcastle.
it's a big miss, but we have dealt fairly well without him. Like we brushed aside Aston Villa. It's a poor. Well, to be honest, Villa have got a decent side, but they are in poor form. But
They are.
I feel
They stay up, I feel.
The
I've
way
got enough
that-
about them.
the way that we can potentially change the tactics with a Mitrovic and Diame up front, or even Daryl Murphy coming in, it's such a like physical attack that you would maybe in fear of that as just as much as like a free flowing fiery
Yeah.
Dwight Gale.
Well, we'll see. Of course, the Championship is still up for grabs, as we mentioned.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that is all we got time for, Tom. Thank you so much for being on the
That's
show.
a pleasure.
I really have appreciated it.
Thank you
And
very much.
thank you so much for watching back at home. And until next week, take care.